Time for a Soccer Down Here 1v1, and for this one, it's a treat. We catch up with JJ Adams, who proclaims himself silver, black, and red all over, and Vancouver son of the province. And JJ, it's great to have you. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and kind of like they said in Smokey and the Bandit, the original, long way to go and a short time to get there. So the main reason that I wanted to catch up with you was the announcement of the new Women's League. And for those that don't have the background as to all of the blood, sweat, tears, toil, and trouble that went into this, let's go backward before we go forward. How long of a runway did we have here with all these discussions before it actually came to pass?
I mean, they've been talking about a women's league for years, ever since the Whitecaps women folded. I think it was back in 2012. They were part of the women's league back then. And I think the league only lasted a year or two longer than that, but that was semi-pro. This is a fully professional league, and I know Diana Matheson has been working hard at this for well over a year, since she retired from playing the Canadian International. But the one thing about the announcement that a lot of people missed was she had actually presented to Canada Soccer her proposal for a women's league, a women's professional league in Canada. Her announcement came 1 year to the day that she presented to Canada Soccer, kind of patted her on the head and ushered her out the door. So her announcement, I don't want to say thumbing her nose at them, but it was a little bit of a, yeah, you guys kind of, you dismissed me and patted me on the head and sent me out the door, and here I am again. Here is the league. So I would say at least a year, but it really picked up steam probably in the last 6 months or so.
And you've got sponsors that have signed on, and these are big names in Canada. For those that don't know, CIBC, I think, is attached to it, but you've got some big names that are ready to rock and roll the second that this hit the press release button and everybody hits send. And that's big too, for something especially that is as new as this will be. When you've got big names that are with you walking this walk, that's huge.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you an optimist or a pessimist? Because there's two ways you could look at the announcement of this league. I'm an optimist. Like, this is something that has definitely been needed, and I think it's fantastic that Diane has been putting in all this work to get this to this point. But the announcement was a little, I don't want to say half-baked, but I don't think she was fully ready to move forward. I think this was more of a calculated risk on her part. I mean, the league doesn't have a name, doesn't have a TV deal, sanctioned by Canada Soccer, which until that happens, they will not be included under the FIFA umbrella. So they will not be a sanctioned professional league. Until all that stuff happens, there will not be a league. Now, will it happen? I really hope so. I think that the signs are good. But I mean, to announce a league without so much stuff in place, with only 2 of the 8 teams that you want announced, is an interesting strategy. I know why she did it. I understand the motivations there, and I think it's a calculated gamble. Hopefully, will pay off for her.
Well, and you could insert your cliches here, cart before the horse, take your, and I think that probably for those of us who are optimists in this idea, you want to kick folks in the pants and sit there and go, hey, okay, we've got this runway and folks are with us here. Come on and jump on the train. And I think that looking at it from my perspective, that's what I was thinking here. It's like, look, we got all this weight behind us. Come on, jump on. This is why we're serious.
Yes, exactly. And by jumping, putting the cart before the horse and getting out in front of, let's say getting out in front of things. She has Christine Sinclair on board. The all-time leading international goal scorer, men's or women's, superstar, Olympic gold medalist, a Canadian icon. She has the Prime Minister of Canada, giving her kudos on social media. So they are kind of like the de facto leaders. Now, there was also another proposal at the same time that Diana presented to Canada Soccer, which was made by some people involved with the Canadian Premier League, the men's Tier 1 league in Canada, and another organization called Canada Soccer Business, which is a very complex situation I'm not going to get into now. But let's just, there are two competing entities, and Canada Soccer had kind of preferred the latter and not Diana's. So by getting out in front of them, she is kind of the leader now, and the CPL, if they still want to go forward with their women's league, there's going to be some competition and two kind of leagues fighting it out. So we'll see what the immediate future brings. But like I said, Diana's taken the league in the first leg here.
Well, and introducing the CPL into this discussion, I mean, right now you've got issues with a franchise in Edmonton, so I would think that you would want to focus on making sure that your league with I think there's introducing another team in the Vancouver area or in British Columbia as a part of this with expansion, that you might want to focus on making sure that your flanks are squared away and that everything is solid with your CPL product before you were to advance and expand into the women's game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that the CPL is both a cautionary tale and an example of success. We did have that Edmonton League fold. The owners that were involved were just not able to get any traction there and stopped, paying for the team, and the league had to take it over. So they're down one team, but they're also up one. We've got Vancouver FC, the same owners of Pacific FC on Vancouver Island. Have started a new team in Langley, just outside of Vancouver, and there will be another team in the interior of BC in Kelowna in short order. So the league is growing. It survived a pandemic in its infancy, which sort of goes to show just how strong that league is. But that league also has its own challenges, attendance, the travel costs. It's an expensive deal. But they've also produced players on the national team. So, there's good and bad. I think Diana is very aware of that league. She's very aware of the precedent set by the Women's Pro Hockey League that was in Canada. I mean, hockey is as Canadian as baseball is American, or the NFL is American. And if a hockey league can't survive, a pro hockey league can't survive in Canada, there's some serious challenges. She's a smart woman. I know she has taken this into account. So I hope this business plan really can address some of those serious concerns that a lot of people have.
Okay, since you mentioned national team, I'll go ahead and go there for a second. Now that things have calmed down, we're out of the group stage, we're into the semifinals and trying to figure out who the best team in the world is over in the host country that starts with the letter Q that I'm not going to mention by name. What is the response for the Canadian men's national team's efforts been now that we're out of group stage and folks have had time to kind of digest what happened over in the World Tournament?
Well, I think, heading in, there are a lot of people that were probably a little bit too carried away. I mean, it was the first time in 36 years that Canada had made the World Cup. It had been many, many decades of disappointment and futility. And then all of a sudden, they're CONCACAF champions. They have a superstar in Alphonso Davies. They've got another budding star in Jonathan David. You know what? We're going to go into this group. We're going to F Croatia. We're going to take out Morocco. And, we go there. We lose all three games. Alphonso Davies does score a goal, the first goal in Canadian history. We get another one on an own goal. But I think a lot of people didn't really understand the quality of what the World Cup was, because I think the mainstream here is still a little naive when it comes to international soccer. And they expected Canada to do exactly what they'd done in CONCACAF in beating Mexico, beating the United States. And of course, that didn't happen. But if you look at those games, I think even with a critical eye, they acquitted themselves very, very well. They probably should have beat Belgium. They took the lead against Croatia and then got their tactics completely wrong in how to face that team. You do some tactical switches. You start some different players in midfield, and maybe you're not losing 4-1. Who knows what happens in that game? Maybe it's a tie. Maybe you win. Who knows? And then Morocco acquitted themselves well. And I think now that you've seen Morocco and Croatia advance to where they are, it's entirely possible that Canada was in the group of death. We had the number two ranking in the world and two. I think Canada's performance was all we could have hoped for, and it really bodes well for 2026 when, of course, the World Cup will be here in North America.
What is the response been to John Herdman, who I know that some folks will sit there and say, can you please have him talk in sound bites in tab A slot B instead of kind of paraphrasing Messiah Jiri and things like that? And it's like, can you kind of dial it back to like 9 notches, or what's been the feedback with Herdman?
Well, he's had some learnings, as he likes to call them. He's had some learnings. I think as much as this was a growth experience for the players, this was also a growth experience for him. I think he's going to look back at this tournament and realize that he made some decisions wrong, and of course the smallest of which was giving another team something to really focus on. And as much as they say you don't need any more extra motivation when you're playing at the World Cup. Oh, I mean, you tell an entire country that you're going to go F their players, they're going to be fired up. I mean, you saw what happened with Argentina after they beat the Netherlands on spot kicks. I mean, the Dutch have been talking all sorts of smack, and after Argentina won, we all saw the ball. Even Messi, who was a mild-mannered guy, got in on the act, and we're not exactly gracious winners. So yeah, I think anytime a team loses 3 straight and fails to advance or doesn't get as far as anyone expects, I mean, you guys are seeing with Greg Berhalter, everyone was calling for his head immediately. Same thing in Canada, but I think there will be no way that John Herdman is not the head coach, for the next couple of years. If in fact, he might end up getting a pro offer somewhere at some team, whether it be, the Prem or another European league, and we might see someone else take the helm in 2026. But it's also just as possible that he is here in 4 years leading the same group of guys that he's, played such a large hand in assembling and establishing this culture that they have.
Did you have the Final Four in the World Tournament in your bracket when you filled out your bracket? Did you have Morocco, Croatia, Argentina, and France as your Final Four?
Well, of course. Of course. I mean, who didn't? I mean, I'm just like that quote unquote school teacher who bet $1 million or won $1 million on Morocco. No, of course not. But it's really cool to see some of the I don't want to say smaller countries, but the lesser lights advance so far at the World Cup. And we've got the juggernaut still, Argentina, France, but Croatia were finalists, at the last World Cup. But I really like to see something happen with Morocco, of course, if nothing happens with Argentina for me. But no, I had no plan. We saw so many upsets. Germany going out, Italy not even qualifying for the World Cup, much to the chagrin of this massive Italian community here in Vancouver. Yeah, so it's been fun to see, and I look forward to seeing what happens in these last few games.
Last question for JJ Adams, hanging out with us for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. Just before you and I congregated here for this conversation, the linear TV deal for Major League Soccer, we're still waiting on Apple TV. That's going to be the next 10 years where you got to subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. But the linear deal is out. From a Canadian perspective, it's TSN and RDS, extensive schedule, regular season matches, 8 MLS Cup playoff matches, MLS Cup each season, 1 match per week featuring a Canadian club, Leagues Cup, highlight rights, all that kind of stuff. So it sticks with TSN and RDS for over the year.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch TFC every week on TV because up here in Canada, there's only one team apparently. There's only one team that TSN seems to promote. Um, it's good that it's still on a linear platform. I was kind of curious to see how they were going to handle it when with the Apple TV deal would really shrink their viewership massively because, well, unless you're a season ticket holder, you got to pay for it, and I think you would lose a lot of casual fans. So it's good that it's still on a linear platform, um, and you need all you can do to promote soccer, football in this continent heading into 2026. So I think it's great that there will be more eyeballs on the sport and not overshadowed by some other sports like um, I don't know. There's some other sports out there that might be fun to watch as well.
No doubt about it.
Mm, mm.
Hmm.
So go Raiders.
That you got to get a running game, man. Bottom line, you got to get a running game and to make sure. And David Carr's got to get some protection. He cannot be on his back as much as he is. That's painful. That's a painful watch sometimes with all those close.
You're saying Josh Jacobs hasn't been providing a running game for this team? I think I have a theory as a longtime Raiders fan. I think Josh McDaniels, former New England Patriot, was sent here to destroy this team from within.
There you go.
Destroy the team from within. So
Mhm.
maybe if we had kept our last coach, we'd be in a different spot. But
Yeah, that's the first part, but you got to keep your QB upright, and I think also losing Zay to the Jags was that was a loss in the wide receiver core. He was great at the tail end of last year, but now he goes to Jacksonville and he's a big target for Trevor Lawrence, and that's you're losing targets and you can't keep a QB upright. That's always tough.
yeah.
See, now we've opened up another window for next time. We can talk about NFL how things go. A couple promo for those that want to follow your work. It's great to catch up with you. Go for it.
All right. You can catch me on Twitter at the real JJ Adams, or you can follow us online at the province.com and vancouversun.com for all things Whitecaps and Canadian soccer.
See, we don't believe in Erzatz JJ Adams is here. We go for the real JJ Adams when it comes to doing interviews here for Soccer Down to 1v1s. JJ, fantastic to catch up with you, my friend. Yeah.
No problem. I'm just glad you didn't introduce me as JJ Abrams, which has happened a litany of times. Even though I am a Star Wars fan, I am not JJ Abrams.
Yeah, because then Star Wars down here would have been a very, very quick discussion. It would have been like episodes 4, 5, and 6, because that would have been the extent of my knowledge of the base. Movie talk do not. Soccer we do. JJ, thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll catch up next time.
No problem. Thanks